welcome everybody to this new episode of No Wonder. I'm still a little bit congested if you listen to my previous episodes, but again, we have another guest here today. We have wonderful Jenna Nelson from her AI agency. Jenna, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I run a company called Hooray Agency, and specifically, I support female founders, women-led businesses with AI implementation and strategy. So our goal is to make it ethical, to incorporate it in ways that don't feel scary or overwhelming, but to start kind of helping businesses scale smarter and not harder. One thing I say often is that it may feel okay right now at the end of 2025 to not have AI implemented in your business. But in 2 years, it won't feel okay. Your competitors are going to start kind of getting ahead of you, and we're just moving in that direction so fast. So I do a lot of kind of educating and helping people kind of dip their toes in the water, getting AI into their business and their workflows. So that's kind of my background.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
just to set a little bit the your story, what would you say it's kind of you would say your greatest achievement that kind of puts you in the place that you're today?
Yeah, I think for me, what's interesting is I never set out to start an AI agency. I never intended to start a tech company of any kind. But my background is in digital marketing and brand strategy. And about 3 years ago, I really just I specifically remember like Googling what is Chat GPT, and starting to play with it myself and implementing it in my own business and life. And then I so quickly found the value in it, that I started kind of incorporating it for my clients as well. So I fell into this on accident. And really, for the past few years and even right now, there's not a lot of women kind of standing up and raising their hand and saying, like, I'm figuring AI out for everybody. I'm, incorporating this into our daily lives. And so there has been just kind of that gap, particularly for female founders. So, for me, what I love about it is just being able to be the one to kind of help people through this. There is a new AI tool coming out every 5 seconds. There's so many options. It is easy to get lost in that world and just be like, you know what, forget it. There's too much. I can't figure it out. So for me, that's the real success point is being able to take people who are like, "Holy cow, I don't know where to start," and incorporate it in ways that feel natural and not overwhelming.
Why would you say to preface the question, I usually start by trying to set a little bit the context of the situation. And um, you specifically said that the name of your company is her AI agency, right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
why now? Why incorporating so evidently the women's side into AI?
Yeah, so I think there's a big kind of sort of bro culture around tech and AI. Here in the United States, we've got Silicon Valley, and it tends to be very male dominated, and it tends to there tends to not be a really women focused approach to this. And it's not to say that men and women use AI differently. That's not necessarily the case, but our needs for it are different. And my personal opinion is that women in general often have more on their plate. We often have families and homes to take care of and children, and we're also trying to run businesses or advance our careers. And there's some data specifically here in the US that male workers often work on average, I think it's like 48 hours a week, whereas women workers often only have like 42 hours a week. And that's that 6 hour gap there has a lot of impact on your business, on your workload. And that's just because of the different responsibilities. So for women, I think that there is more of an opportunity in AI because we maybe need it more, right? We're trying to do it all with more obligations, and so I want to kind of be that bridge there. That's like, for decades, right? Women have been trying to figure out, how do we do it all? And a lot of times the answer was, you can't. If you're trying to do it all, it's probably sometimes at the expense of your family, or maybe it's at the expense of your business. You're kind of just choosing like which one gets less of me this week, essentially. And I think that AI is potentially the answer to, okay, you can do it all now without burning out. Women, typically are far more likely to burn out in their careers, to feel overwhelmed, to just, hit that wall. And so I think this is where we have this opportunity to use AI in a way that can overcome some of those issues that we've had for decades now.
In your own experience, I assume that you also felt kind of this need at one point, and I'd say the second bit of what I get from your Harai agency is
Yeah.
the human side, right? So on one side we have the mental load, the decision fatigue, but at the same time, I feel like we're also overwhelmed with all of this AI taking place. So when did you first feel this tension between human and AI?
Yeah, and that's often people's biggest fear, right? Is they don't want to lose their human connection to their business or to their clients, their customers. And so what I always kind of tell people is, I'm not trying to replace humans. I'm not trying to replace humanity with AI. I'm trying to up level what you can do. So this is, an opportunity to remove some of that decision fatigue that's kind of weighing you down and taking your creative energy because you're, dealing with 5,000 things. So what can we automate? What can we take away that doesn't impact your clients directly, that doesn't impact your creativity, but is maybe like manual tasks that you're doing on a daily basis that just suck up your time and energy? So I think that's really where I want to amplify the humanity, not take away from it. And I think that's the big difference that I have to kind of educate people on is it's not just throwing your business to AI and saying like, all right, now I run, a robot business. It's okay, I'm automating these things. I'm letting AI do these things for me so that I can be on more calls with my clients, so that I can get out and network, so that I can use my brain to think about new products or services or things that matter. So it's using AI to maybe do the things that don't matter as much in a human basis, and keeping our human experience for what does matter.
On this note, I would like to begin with a little thought experiment. Let's say,
Yeah.
let's imagine that with the flick of a magic wand, you can make that everything that you teach and everything that you advocate for is
Yeah.
actually into reality.
Sure.
So how would this human first embedded into AI situation? Like what 24 hours would look like for a business owner?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think, the first thing that I do with any business owner is let's pick one thing that's bogging you down. So, I would look at in a 24-hour period, what are you doing that you don't enjoy doing that is repetitive? Like if you're doing it every day, that's a great case for automation. So I would start there. So, that's gonna look different for every business, but in a full day, what I would want is for a founder and business owner to be able to wake up and start doing the things in their business that move the needle, and not necessarily admin tasks, maybe not checking emails first thing in the day. This is something I've put into practice in my own business recently, where, I don't even check my email until like 10 o'clock in the morning and I use the first couple of hours to do strategy to finish products, because we can get trapped in that kind of like you open your email and it's like, oh, now I'm doing this, and you get way off track. So there's tons of great email automation options out there. We can sequence lead follow up. So, maybe a lead has come in to your business overnight. You don't have to get up first thing and respond to them because they already got, some information on you. They already got a touch point via an automation. So you can move straight into client work or what's important. So I think in a broad view, what I would see a business owner who is using AI right, looking like what their day would look like is that they've got more control over it because the things that have to get done are being done by automations or AI, and they can focus on this is a project that's meaningful to me. This feels important. I want to work on this versus I have to put out 70 fires and respond to 80 different emails. Email inbox cleanup and sorting and filtering, right? Like that can just save you a ton of time in the morning. Instead of manually deleting emails that you don't need or, getting caught in that kind of read respond loophole, let's filter to what's important, right? Like let's only see an inbox of like really urgent, this needs my attention things. And then let's save all that other stuff, maybe to come back to later or let AI respond or something like that. So that's the way I would see it kind of playing out in the long term is you are automating everything that can be automated so that you can focus on what can't be. And that's your genius, that's your intellectual property, that's where you are one-on-one with clients. That's what I really want to see founders being able to do more of and less of the administrative stuff.
And as a woman founder, how do you think that this integration of AI can make people feel more themselves rather than less?
Absolutely. So, one of the things that it does is it enables us to reach more of an audience or reach people more often. It takes a lot of content at this point in time to stay relevant, to show up on people's social feeds. We all get 9,000 emails a day. So it's unlikely that if you're sending one email a week that it's getting opened that often. So where AI can really help you is amplifying that amount of content. It takes a long time to write a newsletter or write social posts, but we can speed that process up so that we can get our message out there more. So that's always something I kind of educate people on is it's not about replacing your voice; it's about amplifying your voice because you can do more. Um,
But amplifying, amplifying this voice, how can we really pass the message that AI can make you trust yourself more rather than I'm just outsourcing something else?
Yeah, absolutely. So, the first thing that I do with every client and the first thing that I preach to anyone is you have to train your AI. There's a huge difference between a trained AI tool and your out of the box, chat GPT free version. You're not going to get the same results. So I want you to treat your AI tools like a junior team member, like an assistant, like somebody that is a human on your team. And you need to train it. You want to teach it everything that you know. You want to teach it about your business, about your customers. That training, once you've done that, what you'll find is that your output sounds on brand. It sounds knowledgeable about what you do because it knows what you know. It's essentially like cloning your brain. Um, so, in terms of like trusting your own voice, well, you've got you're training it on what you already know. And as long as you feel good about what you're putting out there and what you know, then you've got a tool that's just replicating that. And B, we can use AI to do things like deep research or brainstorming, compiling, information. So I love to use it in a way that's like, I already know all of this, right? Like, this is what I do. I feel really great about this. And I love to play with it. What am I missing? Are there things out there that I haven't thought of yet that need to be incorporated into my message? Here's the 10 things I think are important for AI, SEO, is there something that I'm missing here? So you can use it to brainstorm and maybe pull in some ideas and things that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. So it can truly become a sort of workshopping, like adding 2 brains instead of 1, basically. So it just makes you smarter. It makes your content better, by using your own knowledge, which is really important, but then also exploring what else, you might wanna incorporate.
And so we kind of painted this picture of a possible future where
Yep.
everybody is using this tool in an efficient and let's say human way,
Sure.
which sounds to me entirely possible.
Yep.
But clearly, right now there are still some blockages. So I would like to explore this a little bit more
Yep.
because here I feel like it's where things get a little bit more uncomfortable because
Yeah.
I'm wondering if in your experience maybe um, founders, women are not admitting something that it could be maybe a common fear of using AI.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of fears around, using AI. I think the one I hear the most is they're worried it's gonna disconnect them from their audience. It's going to feel like AI. Everybody's gonna read it and go, "Oh, she wrote that with AI. I don't even wanna read it." And that's where that training comes into play, right? Like, you can do it right so it doesn't come off that way, but I think that's a fear, right? Is alienating your audience because it looks like you've just thrown everything at the AI wall and you're hands off. So that's a fear. I think the other fear is kind of the ethics of it and being concerned that people are going to think, well, she doesn't actually know what she's talking about. She's just using AI. And there's a huge fear in that. So showing what you truly know and why you're a thought leader or why you've got a business built around your knowledge is still really important. So I think that's a fear, and then I think another fear is just it running wild and going off the rails. Huge concern about, like, when do we let AI kind of go on its own and chat, from a customer service angle or, voice AI sometimes can be kind of scary for people because what's it gonna say? And is it gonna make my brand look bad if it says, if it like gets mad at somebody, like so there's a lot of fear there of it misrepresenting your brand or you. And so that's where, at least on our side, we put a lot of guardrails in place. We test and we test and we test and we try to break it. And I try to throw things at it to make sure that it's not going to go off the rails. But keeping a human in the loop is still really important, with the exception of very expensive, we're talking Fortune 500 company level, bots. For the most part, these still need to be monitored, just like you'd monitor your assistant or a junior. Most of the time, you're not hiring an employee and being like, good luck. I'll check in with you at the end of the year. You're watching what they're doing. You're staying in that loop, and you need to be a human in the loop with your AI as well. So just keeping those checks in place, auditing the responses if it's, conversing with your clients. Look at those logs every day and make sure nothing went crazy. And if so, train, fix, all those kinds of things. But that's how you get around that fear of it kind of going off the rails, is putting those protocols and systems in place to check it and monitor it and retrain it as necessary.
Another fear that I think, let's say, in the ecosystem that I've built around myself of the expert that I've talked about in business, there is, let's say, an agreement that a big difference between women in business and men in business is somewhat of an imposter syndrome, that we don't really know where it comes from, but it's somewhat there.
Yep.
And I'm wondering if AI, in one sense, could even make it a bit worse because I'm not doing the one that's doing somewhat the work. Did I earn what I'm doing?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's completely reasonable. I think I can absolutely see where that could add to that fear, right? Like, am I just regurgitating what AI is giving me? I would challenge that with, yes, I can see that thought, but I could also say use it to validate your ideas instead, right? Like, fact check yourself. Like, go into one of your AI tools and say, here are the things I believe about this, or here are the things that I teach my clients. And have it poke holes at it and say, do you see something wrong here? Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? And why? And challenge it to challenge you. And I think what you'll find more often than not is that your ideas probably are pretty solid. You wouldn't be doing it if you didn't know something and if you didn't have a fresh take on it. But use it to kind of challenge you and say, you're not looking for it to be like, "Oh my gosh, you're so smart, you know everything, good job." I always recommend, with AI in your prompting to tell it to, it depends on your tolerance level. Like, you can tell it to be ruthless and give you its honest critique. If you can handle that, maybe you can't. Maybe you want it to be a little more reasonable, like, "Hey, give me your honest take, but, like, don't insult me," type of deal. You gotta find your personal medium there, but I would say use it to fact check yourself, to validate your ideas. I love to, like, when I'm working on new services or products or strategies, I love to kind of run it through like a brainstorming session in the same way that I would like with a friend, right? Like, we've all done that. We've all had an idea and we've gone to sit with a friend or a family member and said, I'm thinking about this. What do you think? Do that with AI too. And I think that you actually might find that instead of feeling more like an imposter, that you feel more validated in your ideas because you're getting somebody that you know is not just telling you what you want to hear, or it's not a friend that is afraid to tell you, like, no, your idea stinks. Don't do that. Um, you can, interact with it and play with different scenarios. I love to be like, I have 3 different ideas. Which of these has the most market value? Which of these is most likely to be adopted, based on the current climate? So I think it can be validating if you let it be.
So, up until now, I think we've discussed a little bit of using that type of AI with a human in the loop. That I would dare to say it's somewhat of an ethical
Yeah.
way of using it, right? But now you have explained it to me, and I understood it a little bit better. But to me, it felt still like really inaccessible in a
Mhm.
sense, right? Is it actually that inaccessible, or is it just poorly explained to the public?
I think it's poorly understood, and I think a lot of the reason for that is fear of it. I think the immediate reaction, like if I were to take a survey of everyone about their feelings on AI, I think there's still just a lot of fear and lack of understanding. Um, and we see that across everything, right? People fear what they don't understand. So I think there's a big hole there of understanding the value of AI and what it can do and what it can't, and understanding what it can't do or shouldn't do is maybe more relevant. There are certainly use cases that I think are not appropriate for AI. And so understanding those and how we can use it ethically and how to not use it, is really important. So, yes, I think there is a lot of fear. I think it gets a bad rap in the media sometimes. I know you and I talked about, the Coke commercial, and there's been, kind of a lot of blowback there on it. But, I would say, like, let's take a step back and say, did that change the value of the product? Do you still like drinking Coke regardless of the fact that their commercial was made by AI? If the answer is yes, then does it matter? Um, on the other hand, if that helps keep Coke's marketing costs lower and therefore that cost isn't getting bundled into what we're being charged as a consumer, maybe there's a benefit there, right? Maybe we still enjoyed the commercial even though it was AI. Well, if you enjoyed it, does it matter? So I think there's, you know, look at it from the perspective of what are the benefits of it, as opposed to just like being immediately like, oh, it's an AI commercial, I don't want to watch that. Well, we're moving in that direction. We're going to see a lot more. And I think it's different, right? Like, I don't necessarily want to watch an AI video of my child dancing on a stage, but I do want to watch, maybe an AI video that explains to me how to use a new product. And again, if that keeps their overhead lower, if that makes them get it out to me faster, I think that that's got a lot of value to it. So the speed, the efficiency, the lower costs really need to be considered, because that has value to you as a consumer as well. It may not immediately feel that way, but that's really what it boils down to on the back end.
So I it may be a redundant question, but what even is AI?
Yeah. So at its core, AI is math, truly. What it does is it takes all of this data and it essentially boils it down to math and numbers, and it chooses the best possible answer based on its data. And where that data comes from is really important. Again, that's why we train it. That's why we make sure that we're feeding it good information so that it has good numbers to pull from. But at the end of the day, it is taking thousands of possible scenarios and coming up with the best right answer. And that's truly what artificial intelligence is. So at its core, it's math. And just like a calculator, just because you have AI doesn't mean that you can do everything. Just because you hand me a calculator doesn't mean I can do calculus. I absolutely cannot do calculus. Um, and the same thing with an AI tool. I could hand a well-trained AI tool to someone and say, okay, write a book. And it might be good depending on their own knowledge and their prompting and what they can bring to it, but most likely it's not going to be, if I'm just handing it to a stranger on the street with no, context on what they're doing. So, um, when we talk about I think it's important to realize that it is a tool that we have at our disposal. It is not being controlled by robots or the government, or it is a tool, and how you use it is really important, and where you use it is important. So I like to boil it down to, it's like a computer, it's like a calculator, it's like any tools we've had at our disposal. And if we go back in time, right, like decades ago, people were fearful of the internet. They didn't want to put information on the internet. They didn't want to get information from the internet. They didn't trust it. Well, we're kind of past that point, right? And now it's widely accepted. And in 10 years, AI is going to be the same way. An AI generated answer is going to feel just as good as something you would get from Google. So that's the direction we're headed in. And I'm just trying to help people adapt faster, because it's moving so fast. AI is coming along faster than we've ever seen anything really develop, and that's because we have the human tool, and also the AI is helping develop itself, which is really interesting. So we're just getting there faster.
But if you told me that AI it's mostly math and it's
Mhm.
mostly numbers, All of this talk about biases in the algorithms of AI, where do they come from?
So often that's based on the user themselves. You can absolutely, like, if you've played around with ChatGPT, you probably know that you can get it to sort of coddle you. You can get it to agree with you pretty easily. So it absolutely does have kind of a user bias, and you have to either prompt it away from that or train it not to have that kind of bias, because otherwise it will adapt to the person using it, and that's what it's meant to do. It is meant to learn as it goes and give you the answers that it thinks you want the most. So if you don't want it to spit out what it thinks you want, then you have to guide it differently. So again, that just comes down to prompting. I always ask my AI to, like, challenge my opinion. Don't, give it to me straight. Don't, sugarcoat it. Tell me what you think I am missing here. Poke holes in my strategy. Those are really, really relevant. And in terms of, general bias, like what AI is putting out there, that's a thing. It's absolutely a thing in the same way that Google has for years surfaced better results on, sites that had great SEO or that were maybe paying for Google ads. It's a lot easier to get ranked on Google if you're, paying money to Google for ads. And AI is no different. We can sort of manipulate what results show up in AI and how. But I will say that AI is doing a much better job, than, like, traditional search engines have done over the years of filtering for the best information. Because what it's doing is it's compositing everything. It's taking all of the answers out there and it's matching for the best possible answer. So I do think we're getting better answers than we were just by Googling a question and, having to sort through results. But yeah, there absolutely is some bias, for sure. And it's just about really, you know, using your own brain to evaluate the responses you're getting. And if it feels off, then, prompt it differently, ask it differently, challenge it. I had an AI tool the other day tell me something that was extremely wrong. It was so wrong. And I told it that, and I was like, "This is inaccurate. Why did you tell me that?" And I challenged it, and it was like, "You know what? You're right. I did not pull from these sources. I should have done that." And I trained it better to ask those questions of itself, and I also learned from it myself in, okay, moving forward, when I prompt, I'm going to say, "Check these sources," look for case law, whatever it might be, that's relevant. So it is again, it's a tool. How you use it is really important. So if you're just accepting everything it gives you, you're gonna get maybe not the best output. If you're challenging it, if you're asking the right questions, if you're making sure it's citing its sources, it's pulling from reputable sources, you're gonna get better output.
But how does then her AI agency use AI? If I were to give you three options, which one would you choose? Do you use it as a mirror, as a multiplier, or as a mask?
Entirely as a multiplier, I would say. A little bit of a mirror and a multiplier. So I have a sort of three-step framework in my agency that I take clients through called Align, Automate, Appear. And it's really relevant because that align phase is kind of the mirror that you're talking about. My background is in brand strategy. And again, we train AI. So to train the AI, I have to truly understand the brand. I have to have all of the business information. I have to know what the founder knows and what they want to communicate. And when I go through that kind of process of training AI, often I find that there's kind of some holes in maybe a business's brand strategy. Maybe they've never considered, like, what are my customers' pain points? What is it that keeps them up at night that they're looking for a solution for? Maybe they don't know what their tagline is. Maybe they don't know what their tone is. So I find that the align exercise is really interesting because it might expose some holes in the business strategy that we need to fill so that we can train the AI appropriately. So in that sense, it is kind of a mirror, right? Because we're looking at what are we missing? What's if I'm reflecting back, what's not being given in this information. So that's part of it. The multiplier phase. So then after we do the align phase, we move into the automate phase. And that's where I want to make sure that we're automating anything and everything we can to allow for that multiplication of their brand and their visibility. Right. But I don't ever want to blow somebody's, leads up or, bring them all of this business if they don't have the back end to handle it. So that's where that automation phase, I want to put that in place before we ever move into the visibility phase. So automate is about, let's make sure we've got lead follow-up systems, nothing's falling through the cracks, we're getting back to people, all those kinds of things. And then we move into that appear phase. And that's the multiplier that you're talking about, where with AI, we can put out so much more content. We can get in front of a wider audience. We can be more present and more available digitally or even in person because of that automate phase. So it's a little bit of both. I would not say it's a mask. I would not want it to mask anything. I think if you're using it to mask a problem, that's where we move away from that like ethical use, and that's not what we're teaching here. So it's somewhere between that mirror and multiplier phase.
Linking to what you just said, the ethical in a business or in your consultancy services, how do you decide what AI should never touch?
Yeah. So obviously, the biggest thing is risk management there, right? So we want to start at the top. And are there sensitive subjects? Are there protected health information? Obviously, that's not the best, case for AI. Is there if we're working, in a mental health kind of medium, this is not probably the place where we want to be recommending, mental health treatment. That's probably not right. So I look at the risks, right? Like what would not be good to let AI handle, and let's stay away from that. And then let's look at what isn't going to matter. One of the things, I talk about a lot is like medical or just appointment reminders in general, right? Like if I'm going to a chiropractor, I want them to spend time with me one-on-one, working on me, talking to me about my body, whatever that might look like. I do not care if AI wrote the appointment reminder that I got emailed, right? Like I do not care if that doctor wrote that or not. That is not relevant to me. So look for those areas, right? Like that part can be easily automated and it doesn't matter. What matters is what happens when I get to the clinic. Um, so yeah, if I showed up to a clinic and my chiropractor was like using AI to figure out what to do with me, I might get a little concerned about that. Um, but on the, appointment reminder side, I don't care. Or their website content, I don't care. So I think finding those things that are impactful, but not directly affecting the care you're giving or the service you're providing, that's where I want to see AI not being used. And I want to see it being used where it doesn't need a human touch, essentially.
And for example, I wanted to ask you also everything that it's a generative AI when it comes to images. How do you deal with those when in terms of safety, for example?
Yeah. So one of the things that I do specifically for clients is we train, they're called Laura's. And those are meant to kind of mimic your facial features, what you train it on. We train it based on a data set, which are images. But then prompting matters too. So I can manipulate the output with prompting. And what that's based on is a trigger word. And kind of the one of the things that's out there that a lot of people teach here is make your trigger word like your name. Well, I don't like to do that, and I don't let my clients do that because then anyone can use it. And so, we use if we're training based on personal appearance, we don't use a name. We use like a very unique keyword or code number or something like that because I don't want somebody taking it and manipulating those images in a way that we don't want. So there's definitely guardrails you can put in place. It's becoming more and more prominent that anything that's entirely AI generated needs to be labeled that way. I think we'll see more of that as time goes on. Because I do think it's helpful for people to know what's AI and what's not. I think it helps us trust what we're looking at more if we clearly know something is AI and something's not. So, yeah, I think with image generation, it's, be careful about it where you put those images, and then label it properly and make sure that you're not putting something forward that looks like you, but could be manipulated in a way you don't want.
So we're what we're kind of discussing here. It's a bunch of the dependencies that come from the integration of AI. So if you don't mind, I'd like to go a little bit more into
Yep,
depth of what ethical human AI really depends on in the
absolutely.
2025 and soon to be 2026.
Yeah.
So how do you think that a woman like a woman founder, let's say, that integrates AI ethically can do it without guidance or without a community that helps her?
I think you could, but I think you'd be spending a lot of your time and energy learning it, and that's not necessarily where I want a business owner or a woman focusing her time unless you're trying to be an AI expert or, I think that's probably not the best use of your time. I want you focused on what matters to your business and working with your customers. So I think the key is finding someone that knows what they're doing, that you trust, that can understand your ethical line and what is reasonable for you. So I would prefer, I think, for, just like with everything, leave the specialty of AI learning, generating all of that to the AI specialists, but find a good match for you to bring it into your world. Because if you try honestly, I mean, I do this for a living. This is what I love, and I'm a huge nerd when it comes to AI tools, and it's impossible to keep up with. Even if I played with AI tools all day, every day, I couldn't keep up with the number that is coming out and the changes. ChatGPT just released a new model this week. Claude will probably follow up with a new model in a couple of weeks. It's impossible to stay on top of, and I wouldn't expect a business owner to be able to be that on top of it. So just like you would as a business owner when you bring in an employee or a marketing firm or an accountant. Find your people, find the experts that you can trust and that you agree with their approach and hand that off to them. Not to say you shouldn't have oversight and you shouldn't be involved, but I don't think that with the amount of information that's coming out and how quickly it's changing, that it's really practical for most business owners to be really knowledgeable about AI. I think that's gonna be a big strain on their time and energy, versus outsourcing it to someone who can do it and do it for them, without, impacting their business operations.
So what I'm getting from this is that maybe as a business owner, I shouldn't focus on learning everything I can about AI at the present moment, but maybe focus more on my boundaries with the way I want to use AI.
100%. I think that's entirely right. Like, focus on what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do, where you feel comfortable with it, and then find an expert that matches that level for you. I think it truly is just like finding an accountant for your business or a marketing director. find your match, and figure out where your comfort level is. I think that's entirely accurate. Yeah.
In your experience among your clients, what would you say? What role does psychological safety, psychological um, feeling comfortable psychologically with the use of AI plays a role? How strong is the role that it plays in the AI adoption in the end?
Absolutely, and I think fear management is a lot of what I do, is helping them kinda get over that hump and that fear of implementing it, and I think that starts with understanding the risks and the rewards. What we understand, we don't fear as much, so I think explaining it to them without going into, the really, very nitty-gritty details of how it's trained and the math and all of that, but helping them understand this is what it does, this is what it can't do, this is how we're protecting your brand. I think that's really important. And then the bigger thing I think is seeing the value. Sometimes I have a really hard people time, getting someone to implement it in the first place because it's like, I don't want that much control handed off to AI. I want to be more in the loop. But then 30 days from now, when they haven't had to manually respond to 80 different leads that a lot of them maybe weren't good or weren't good fits, and they've only had to have 20 conversations with potential clients. And of those 20 clients, they were hot leads, they were well nurtured, they'd been through, kind of the protocol to filter them. And so their conversion rate has improved and they've spent less time actually trying to get customers. They're being kind of handed the good ones on a plate and they can convert those easy. I think sometimes it just takes time to see the value of it on the other side. Um, to get over that fear, just like anything else, right? It's like the first time you do a backflip into the water. It's scary, but then you do it and it's fun and it's like, "Oh, and I didn't die. This was great. Let me do it again." A little bit of that with AI as well. Sometimes you just have to try it.
Yeah, we discussed a little bit all of these fears and these dependencies, and how does you and your agency make it work in practice? Like, um, what do you do? Let's say, maybe not differently, but what makes your client really feel like you understand them?
Yeah, so I think the first, piece of that is showing them trained AI. That's usually where I make that transition for somebody is I love to pull up, like, ChatGPT and ask it a question about their business or, something that, like, might go into content and just see what ChatGPT would spit out, and then I like to show them what, like, a trained agent on their business can do, and I think when they see the difference, that's always really a big kind of push over that first hump is, "Oh, it is different than just seeing what AI spits out." So I think that's kind of step 1 for me is showing that training and that value, and just how close we can get to something they might have written themselves.
And is there anything that surprised you in starting this business in working with female founders, for instance?
I think it's the surprising thing is how much female founders were trying to do on their own. Um, and, I see it all of the time where it's like, yeah, we're doing our own social media and we're managing our own website and we're doing our own sales. And it's like, there's no way that you can do all of that and do it all well and do it without burnout. So I think I see a lot of okay, let me take this off your plate. Does that feel better? Great. Let's try to, take this off your plate. Okay, does that feel better? Great. So just kind of moving them slowly. And I always, when I bring somebody in new, it's like I never want to like throw everything in the kitchen sink at them AI wise. Like I'm never coming in being like, let's automate your entire business right out of the gate. I like to find that one problem. What's that one thing that is bottlenecking you? And let's see if we can solve that with AI. And then after we've done that, okay, what's the next phase of that? So I think just slowly incorporating it versus like trying to do it all at once makes a big difference as well.
In your work, I'm assuming you see different kinds of businesses. Is there something in the automation work, for example, taking off the plate? Is there something that you refuse to automate, even if it's tempting or even if it's requested to you?
Um, I don't know that's like there's one thing that I would flat out refuse. I would say if if there's somewhere where we might be getting negative feedback or where there might be an unhappy customer or client, I think that's not the best place for AI, at least right now. That might change over time. But I think if there's a recovery, a service recovery that needs to happen for your business, that still should remain with a human. We are trying to solve a disagreement or something that someone's unhappy with. I don't know that you get the same value solving that with AI. If it's quick and easy and it's, a positive interaction, I think that's a great use case for AI. If they're not happy, if something went wrong, I think that should still be founder led, human led, etc. So I tend to not so like one thing we do is we automate review responses a lot. Responding to your reviews on any platform helps the algorithm. Google in particular really looks for not only you collecting a review but also responding to it. Even if it's a good review, that's important. Now there's great reviews, those 5-star reviews, that's super easy for me to automate and say, "Thank you so much. We loved working with you." That's an easy automated response. But if they're getting a 1 star and it's like, "They never called me back. They didn't do what they," that's not where I want AI to pop in and be like, "We're sorry you had a bad experience." That's not helpful to the client. I don't think it looks good visually. So I think negative anything that's potentially negative is not the right place for AI right now.
Before going to the end section of this episode, which is a bit of a novelty for No Wonder, you already know what's coming because I told you, but but my listeners don't know yet. Um, I wanted to ask a more personal question for you. Um, what does staying human actually mean to you in 2025? Not as a founder, not as a businesswoman, but as Jenna.
Yeah, I think it's connection to other humans. I think that's really where I feel the most human is engaging with people I love, people I like spending time with. So that's something I would never want to replace with AI. I'm not interested in AI reading my children a bedtime story. I want to do that personally. So I think that human connection to another human is really important. And then also just taking care of myself and my own mental health, physical health. That's not something I want to outsource to AI either. That's, my body, my brain is what, I use on a daily basis. And that's not something that I think can be replaced. So, that those are the things that grounded real life stuff is what keeps me human. And then outside of that, um, I can use AI and sometimes AI helps me be more present with my children or be more have more time to go out with my friends or something like that. But those things are not something that I'm ever looking to automate.
So now, woo, there's the fantastic new incredible section of the questions from the audience.
Sure.
Being a little silly, I'm actually very grateful that some questions were asked, and I'm also very grateful that you gave availability to answer a few of them. So, the first question is, how does AI interfere with brain patterns like memory or critical thinking or something like that in your experience?
Yeah, so I mean, it certainly can, and I think there's definitely, this is something we want to consider, particularly as like children use it in school and for learning purposes. I want it to be a tool and not something that's relied upon. So for instance, I think we still want people to use it in a way that feels like they are brainstorming with it, not relying on it. Um, and I'm seeing that my kids are 7, and so they're just really getting into that kind of like researching and learning phase. And I don't just want them going to AI and getting an answer. I want them to think through the what and the why and the how. An AI tool cannot have empathy. It can't feel. So, for instance, if they're writing a book report on something that's, maybe something bad that happened in history, AI can give them facts and tell them, what happened, but it can't help them understand how that impacted history moving forward or how that impacted people in that day that were experiencing it. Um, so I think we just have to be careful with it, right? And use it as a tool and just, again, I know I've used the calculator analogy a lot, but I want myself and my kids to be able to add 2 plus 2 without a calculator. I want them to be able to think and write without AI. So I think there's times to use it, there's times not to, and we don't ever wanna get to a point where we're so reliant on it that we can't write an email without AI. If we get to that point, we've gone too far.
Yes, it's something that it's when we were talking, I'm gonna be a little bit more like personal. I think this question it's more if you are like more opinions than giving facts, but uh there's like this irrational thing that's coming up of like using ChatGPT or AI to give you suggestions on how you should live your life or
Right,
um,
right.
having an emotional connection with ChatGPT. I find it a bit confusing because it's an algorithm. It's numbers.
Right.
It's
It is.
telling you what you want to hear. It's not. Um, it's that's the thing. That's the scary bit of AI. It's how it's being used right now. But
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not really on board with the, concept of like treating it like a friend or, it can't feel. So, if you're using it to bounce ideas off of, that's one thing. If you're using it to guide you in how you should feel, that's really different. So yeah, I'm not I know they exist. There are apps out there for, creating, chat girlfriends and boyfriends. I'm not into that. I think that that is the wrong, way we need to go. I want people to get out and be with other humans.
this
So yeah, yeah.
terribly. Maybe in a few years when you're gonna have, we will see where this goes. I.
I think right now I'm hoping that a lot of that is just experimentation, like what can we do with it? And then I hope that there's maybe some pullback, in a year or 2 where it's like, okay, we went a little too far with that. It's cool that we can do it, but that doesn't mean that we should. Not everything we can do should we do. And certainly with AI, I think that's relevant.
And this second question is um I kind of we kind of touched it really quickly. And how do you in your business how do you deal with the biases that inevitably emerge in AI? Do you and To follow up to this, once maybe a problem occurs, who is labeled responsible in a business setting or even outside?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, from a responsibility standpoint, your AI tools should be an extension of you and your business. And so you do need to moderate them that way. And I think, if you are publishing a chatbot, if you are using, an AI tool for customer service and it does do something wrong or bad, yes, we can say, okay, the AI hallucinated. That was the AI tool, right? But at the end of the day, you're still responsible. In the same way that if you've got an employee and they have a bad day and they say something they shouldn't, you as the business owner are still responsible at the end of the day. And I think AI tools are the same. I do think we have to be responsible for what we're putting out there, how we're training it, how we're using it, when we're using it. Those are all they come back on the business and they come back on the founder for sure.
More on the ethic point of view, I just thought about it. Um, you work a lot of integrating AI into businesses.
Mhm.
Um, how do you navigate the fear of maybe employees of being replaced by AI? I'm gonna preface this by saying that in Italy, for example, there is the court and the law enforcement that's not the law enforcement, the attorneys and the judges, yeah, that's ruled positively in favor of a sentence that was about an employee being fired to be replaced by AI.
Yep.
So that is now something that it's accepted, quote unquote, by the laws. So if have you ever faced this kind of fear? How do we navigate it?
Absolutely. I hear that a lot. I hear it on the founder side where they're concerned that they don't want to lose their employee. You know, they've got relationships with these employees. They feel responsible for them. They don't want to replace them with AI. And they're also scared that their employees are going to see them integrating AI into their business and be like, "Oh, I'm about to lose my job because they're outsourcing it to AI." So, my takeaway there is I'm not trying to replace jobs or people with AI. I'm trying to replace tasks. And so, where I hope we go as a society is that by incorporating AI, we can do more. So, I don't see it as okay, you've got this employee right now, they're doing these 10 things. We've replaced it with AI. You get rid of the employee. Now, this employee can do 10 more important things, better things, maybe things that are more meaningful to them, that help, them better connect with the business that they're working in. And, maybe you can combine roles and, keep your payroll a little less, scaled down. But it doesn't mean, I hope we don't get to a point where it is like one business owner surrounded by 80 AI tools and that's their whole business, right? Like I think that's too far. It's just that we can replace a lot of things that just don't need as much human involvement as they used to. So again, I want a human in the loop. So there needs to be a human doing that. We can do more with less so they can do maybe that means that a employee can spend more time talking to your customer because they're not doing some of the back end administration stuff that frees them up to have more of a human bond. So I hear it a lot. And certainly, as time goes on, will there be some very low level tasks that are replaced completely with AI? Yes, we're seeing it already. Um, but that just means we can do more and we can expect more out of humans. I think it's honestly a great opportunity if treated that way.
We said that it's about doing more with less, let's
Mhm.
say. So the next question that came from the audience, and you kind of just touched quickly upon it before, is a case where they did exactly that. They did more with less, the Coca-Cola Christmas advert.
Yep.
So the question was, what are your thoughts on the negative backlash that AI has been getting recently in the mainstream? And what you mentioned before, I'll try to rephrase it to see if I understood correctly in case you can expand, is that um, AI is to be seen as a tool that facilitates. So in the case of Coca-Cola, for instance, it might have helped to reduce effort somewhere else. And
Mhm.
the advert didn't impact negatively the product and the quality of the product itself, then you shouldn't necessarily be completely against it. Did I say it correctly?
Yeah, no, I think that that's entirely accurate, right? Yes, there's been some media blowback on that. But we've also, we've seen media blowback on advertisements that weren't AI created, because maybe they went a direction they shouldn't have. So I don't think that AI on its own makes it invaluable. It it's the product content. If that advertisement connected with the audience, if it did what it's supposed to do, which is sell Coke, then I think it's fine. Now, on the other hand, if it did kind of just flatline and everybody was like, I don't like the commercial, that made me hate Coke, then that's something to consider from the business standpoint. But I don't think that's what happened. I think that it was more so we just aren't used to seeing that happen. And over time, we're going to get more used to that. But people like those Coke ads. They connect personally, I think. So the question is just, did that advertisement still kind of make you feel something? And if it did, I don't think that it matters that it was AI. I think what matters is what you felt. And if you didn't know it was AI, would that matter then?
I'm gonna give a very personal take to this whole AI situation with Coca-Cola, and you can tell me what you think about it. But
Yeah.
um, what I struggle with in the use of generative AI specifically is when companies which could have really high budgets into
Mhm.
marketing and that could potentially afford to pay an artist and to have the human properly do the thing,
Sure.
it feels to me like it's kind of wanting to cheap out on something, and where it could be probably being done by a human. On the other side, I think that AI it's a very powerful tool for what we discussed up until now for like small businesses who want to scale, who want to accelerate. So I feel like that's mostly what people were mad about with Coca-Cola, that they have such huge budgets that they just decided to as well. I don't think that it's completely unhuman generated because if somebody ever used AI to try to generate a video, it's such a pain and you really see it.
I know, I know, and I think that's a lot of where that comes from too, is what people don't understand is that it it's not that easy. It still does take a human in the loop. It still does take some manual effort. So while the end result might be AI, it doesn't mean that a human wasn't involved. So I think that that misunderstanding can have a lot to do with it. You're absolutely right. Generating video, especially video that long,
Yeah.
is very hard. So it did still require something of Coke. I can certainly hear the argument on, the artists and the creators. There are, on Spotify, there are tons of AI artists and music that's performing really well. And is that taking away from the true artistry of people that write their own, play their own? I think there's probably a space for both. I would prefer personally to see really creative, artistic mediums stay more human. I think, like, I'm not interested in going to see a Broadway play done entirely by AI. I want to see humans in that. So I think there's good and bad. There, like anything we've got, there we can take it too far. We can also not use it to its full extent. So finding those middle grounds. I'm personally not into the AI generated music, but I get that some people might be. I think it's just a personal. We can have both, and you don't have to. If you don't like it, don't listen to it. Listen to the artists that you love, right? Like just like anything else.
The last question that I have from the audience is it's actually coming from a founder themselves. I got a chance to speak to one, and she was asking me to integrate AI in your own business. To your
Mhm.
experience, to what point a founder can get on their own and then to which point they need the intervention from an expert, starting from zero coding experience, let's say.
Yeah. So I think certainly for things like content production, you can absolutely learn, Chat GPT and Claude and some of the AI gen tools for images. I think you can absolutely learn those on your own and do a good enough job. Where I would want you to have, kind of expert help is when it becomes client facing. I think if you are training like a chat bot that's going to communicate with your audience, that's a really great time to bring in an expert for a variety of reasons. One, for the training, two, for the guardrails. The last thing you want is for your chatbot to be like exposing company secrets or your IP. So we put some things in place there that you might not know how to do on your own. So I think when it becomes like client external facing, I would want an expert involved. And then I think when we get to the tech implementation of it, again, I don't think for most founders it's worth their time and effort to learn how to do a webhook and have information sent from the AI back to their sales tool. The middle part of that is probably not going to benefit you or your business. So I think when it gets really techy, you need an expert if it's external facing. But if you're using it for internal content production, if you're using it to generate images for your website, that I think you can do. There's tons of YouTube training and people like me that post, trainings and stuff like that on it. There's lots of options, to learn the basics, but over time, I think the more you can outsource to an expert, the better.
Well, thank you. Usually, I just have one last routine question to close
Cool.
off an interview, and is what's a question that you wish you were asked more often?
Ooh. Hmm. More often. I think what I like to answer is, um, or what I get asked a lot is there's so many AI tools. How do I choose? How do I know what to use? And so I think a lot of people just kind of bury their head in the sand and they get scared. And it's like, there's too many, I can't choose, or I'm just going to pick one or the cheapest one and go with it. What I like to do is kind of boil it down to like, there are three AI tools you should absolutely have. You need a generative AI tool, something like ChatGPT, something like Claude, something like Gemini, and you could pick any one of those. I have my own personal preferences, but to each their own. But you need something like that. That's tool number one. Tool number two is an automation platform of some kind. There's tons out there, there's a bunch of different things you can use, but you need that to take the content piece and automate it. And then the third is you need something to help you, generate images or video. It depends on your business and what you're putting out there. But I think you can get by with like three core AI tools and it can be pretty inexpensive. Like you could get all of those subscriptions for under $100 a month easy. Um, you don't need 500 tools. So I often get asked like, what's the latest and greatest? And the answer is the best AI tool is the one that you use regularly, train well, and reinforce that learning with it. If you're constantly kind of hopscotching around tools, you're never getting the full value of the training and the retraining and the reinforcement learning. So that's I get asked variations of that question a lot. But I would love to just be asked, like, if I was gonna pick 3 tools, what should they be? Or if I needed to know what my minimum tech stack looks like, what would they be? And that's kind of my 3. It's the generative AI, the automation platform, and then something for content production.
Do you have any favorites? Like, for example, my favorite one at the moment, I think it's Gemini.
Uh, you know
Actually,
yeah.
for anything else.
I'm a Chat GPT purist. I truly love the OpenAI platform. So much of the AI tools that are out there are in fact powered by the OpenAI in backend. So um uh, when people are like, I don't like Chat GPT, it's like, well, do you know that it's powering a lot of your tools? Like Siri is Chat GPT powered, for instance, on your iPhone. So
Huh?
um So, I personally, I like it the best. I think it's the most multifunctional of them out there. I can make an argument for Claude. It has a lot of value for like storytelling, for more elaborative copywriting. But like if somebody came to me and they're like, I can afford one AI tool, what is it? Chat GPT tends to be where I push people purely because it does have just the most power of everything that's out there. But Gemini is great too. It's coming along. I think that Gemini is a strong argument as well.
Well, unless I forgot to ask you about something, if there's a topic that you would like to discuss further,
No, I think I'm good. I think we covered a good deal, probably enough fodder there.
then if people want to know more about you, where can they find you?
Yeah, certainly my website's heraiagency.com. And then I have a YouTube channel too where I do a lot of like really short. I'm not into the like 1 to 2 hour deep dive trainings. I think that's too much. I do a lot of like 5 to 10 minute, like short, here are easy things you can implement really fast. So definitely check out my YouTube channel as well because I think that it's a good starter kind of course in, some of the AI tools out there.
Well, that's wonderful. I want to thank you really warmly for being with me today. Think it was a very cool conversation. I think I've learned quite a bit.
Great.
And then I'm just gonna end the recording here. Thank you everybody for listening for listening to us today, and see you a different time.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.